You shouldn't sound so proud about
that. Yes, I should. Okay.
I happen to love the number 5.
I have to speak up. I'm wearing it home.
Marvin, you're naked.
Stop looking at me,
You have until the count of 5.
Welcome to the Got Till 5 podcast. My name is Max. His name is Jesse. And during the intro, Jesse always remembers his plugs in his ears and he takes them out when he's wearing his headphones.
There they are. So I'm one of those emo kids from the mid-2000s that stretched his ears and then, like, it's too late now. What can you do about it? So you either just carry on wearing them, even though they're not trendy anymore, or you have, like, take them out and it looks like you got cat's bums as earlobes, right? So not good look. But yeah, they do. You do forget that they are wood in your ear. So when you're wearing headphones, they do dig into your neck a little bit. And
there you go. Welcome to the behind the scenes of Got Till 5, everyone. Thank you for joining us, Jesse. It's good to see you.
This feels underground.
No,
because we're on a Friday instead of a Thursday because we've both had hectic work weeks because I think bank holiday and stuff. Like, real life, guys. Come on, it gets in the way. And it's 8:30, so it's half an hour later, and there's been no promotion really. But I quite like that. I like that we've snuck in, and I feel like if we do something terrible, no one will know.
This is just an old school chat. There's no videos this week. There's no images, any of that nonsense. Just me and Jesse shooting the shit on the top 5 sitcoms of all time, which is quite a tall order.
It is. I don't know if, top 5 sitcoms of all time, like, that sounds daunting to me now, because I don't know if my choices are necessarily that. They're just ones that
we're clearly in the wrong with our choices. Very much so. Like, this is just our list, but there's a lot of honorable mentions, because we decided this an hour ago, and then I went, oh shit, there's this one, and then there's this one, and then there's this one. Before we get started, I just wanted to let people know that you can pick up some merch at gottill5.tmo.com. And for our viewing listeners, here's our latest design, baby.
That is my favorite t-shirt we've done, without a doubt.
So for our listening audiences, we have a Got Till 5 t-shirt in tribute to our Bill Stevenson episode a couple of episodes back with Bundy reading the Everything Sucks newspaper. I'm very proud of it. Please buy it. I feel very loved if you did. So it's worldwide shipping, gottill5.tmo.com. That's the last time I'll plug. Oh, wait, more people joined. Look at it. Bye.
Oh, nice. Okay. Look at that lovely t-shirt. It is a great t-shirt.
Jesse got his, but he refuses to lower himself and wear his own.
Well, look, I found this t-shirt. I forgot about this t-shirt. I look good in this t-shirt. I forgot all about it. I got it as a present years ago. Look at this, like, neckline. You don't see t-shirts like that anymore. It's got a couple of little buttons, but you keep it
tees.
Yeah, and it makes my guns look good, baby.
Here's me all like 19th century. No looking at my JD. Okay, so sitcoms. If Simpsons is at number 1, I'll throw a fit.
I wouldn't consider The Simpsons a sitcom, though. That's interesting that he says that. Would you?
No, when I'm going to add the rules, everyone. I'm going to add the rules. We're not including cartoons in this. We're talking purely human living people. We will do another episode in the future of like top 5 animated sitcoms. I think that's fair to do. Because there's a fair few. Spoiler alert, Simpsons will be number 1.
Obviously.
Problem solved.
The first 9 seasons.
First 9 seasons.
Does a show, right, can it still be number 1 if there's more bad episodes than good, though? Which there is of The Simpsons.
Well, this is what I was debating when I was coming up with my list, because I'm a sitcom fanatic. I love them so much. But there's a lot, and you'll notice the difference. Basically, spoilers, Jesse is doing British sitcoms, I'm doing American sitcoms, because that's just our comedy
kind of by accident. Yeah, like we didn't do that on purpose. It's just what we like.
Yeah, exactly. So it's Jesse, would you care to take that comment?
No, turd. Number 1, how dare you? Number 2,
listening audiences, he says it's so underrated after season 9.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Listeners. It's not true. I think Simpsons got terrible after season 9 because they changed writers, and they did a recent episode. Did you hear about this? I don't mean to get sidetracked already, but the Simpsons did an episode recently where they did a flashback to Homer as a teenager in the 90s.
That doesn't make any sense.
What kind of Inception shit is that, right? Like, because I suppose he is a 40-year-old man, right? And he is forever a 40-year-old man. So if he's a 40-year-old man in today's episode, yes, he would have been a teenager in the 90s. But it's just, that blows my mind. Because
but if we take canon of past episodes, we've seen flashbacks of Homer being a teenager in the 1970s.
In the 70s. Yeah, exactly.
God,
like watching, like when the moon landing happened. Like, we've seen the flashback of when the moon landing happened, and he's sitting, listening to, yummy, 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 I got love in my tummy, and I feel like loving you. And, yeah, it's just weird. And, like, Bart is not a 90s child anymore. The whole point of Bart Simpson is that he's, like, your archetypical child of the 90s. But, obviously, that's not the case anymore. He's a 10-year-old in 2021.
How old does that make us feel, though?
So old.
My favorite, most depressing fact, speaking of sitcoms, many people remember the fantastic show, That 70s Show. Yeah. Excellent show. Very funny. You could now recreate That 90s Show and it would be the exact same time gap.
That's horrible, man. I don't like these.
I don't like that. Mummy.
Well, there's rumors of them making, This Is England. So they did This Is England, the film. Then they did This Is England 86, then they did 88, then they did 90. So I loved all that, and I didn't feel old watching any of it because I wasn't born when any of it was set. But they're talking about making a new one, like This Is England mid to late 90s, and that's going to make me feel old because I'm going to see characters that I associate with an era that I was never in an era I was in. Do you see what I mean? It's like,
exactly.
It's going to fuck with my head, bro.
Yeah, me and Jesse like to pretend that the 90s were 10 years ago. So does everyone else. What is time? Sitcoms. But as I was saying, with this, this is going to be a sidetrack one, isn't it? We're going to go all over this shot.
I think, sorry everyone in advance. I haven't spoken to a human for a while either. So you're the lucky guy that gets to, just everything I've been thinking about. I suppose at work I've been speaking to people, but that's work talk. It's not the same. I'm just going to have to unload on you.
This is a safe space. So when we're talking about it's not a safe space. So when we're talking about sitcoms, I was trying to pick ones that were I have so many favorites, but then you go, but especially in American sitcoms, they go on way too long and they become really shit. How I Met Your Mother. And it becomes difficult to love them again. So my picks have all been consistent, good seasons throughout from start to finish, which is not an easy task.
That's not an easy task. I would say mine have as well, but it's much easier with British stuff because 3 seasons is considered long in Britain.
Yeah, they tantalize you and then they take it away. I think actually all of our choices are on streaming sites at the moment, just to help people out. If you got something to do this weekend,
we can. Yeah, we'll say where they are as we do them, shall we?
Exactly. So should we get started with number 5?
From you're starting, which is exciting for all of us.
Jesse always starts, so I was like, I'll take it this time, please.
Finish.
So, which means you get to finish. So at number what kind of nuts are we talking?
Oh, we got the brain nuts. The ones that look like half a brain.
Oh, you're actually going to take us through the nut collection, okay?
I don't know. What's this one called?
Cashew,
probably. Got that. There's some raisins in there to fruit it up. That's nice.
God bless us for ending in 6 episodes.
This is a cashew, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a cashew.
That's a cashew. So what's this guy?
Listeners.
That's got a raisin stuck to it. Answers on a postcard. I want to know what this little guy is.
Could you imagine if SMTV Live or the Graham Norton show got to this level? Viewers, what's this nut?
They can only dream of getting to our level.
Oh,
sorry. This is because I'm not used to you starting. It scared me, so I just grabbed the nearest thing on the desk.
Let me pay attention to me. I want to talk about my nuts. Okay, at number 5, I'm kicking off with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Literally watched 3 episodes of this just before I started doing this.
We have to end it. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Ninturd. We will be ending at 100 episodes, but we'll be back with something new. So stay tuned, brother or sister.
Even better.
I don't know.
Down with the top 5. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Jesse, you've just started on a magical journey that is Always Sunny. So I'll try and keep spoilers to a minimum. But what season episodes are you in now?
I'm on season 5. I just watched the episode when the guy, the episode is called "The Waitress is Getting Married." Is the episode I literally just finished.
Okay, so I'll keep spoilers to a minimum because I know a lot of people haven't watched it because it is this kind of cult niche, even though being super popular as a TV show. So I'll just give you background and overview. So when we talk about It's Always Sunny, it's a show about nothing. And this isn't anything new. You talk about Seinfeld. Seinfeld is considered the greatest sitcom ever to be produced, right? And Seinfeld is just a bunch of narcissistic friends hanging out. Always Sunny. Then you have Friends. Then you have Cheers, Arrested Development. All about nothing. But then we have It's Always Sunny, which is like Seinfeld, but dialed up to 11. It's horrendous and horrible, and we'll get into the reasons why in a second. So it was originally meant to be a short film produced by Rob, Glenn, and Charlie while they were trying to make it in LA so they could kind of get recognition. They shot it on a digital camera. They had no budget, but somehow when they were passing it around, they found their way to the Fox subsidiary, which is the FX channel, and they were like, yeah, fuck it. Order a full season. Bring it on. And their budget at the time was $450,000 per episode, which in terms of American sitcoms is, here's a penny. Go and make magic.
But it feels like that when you watch it. But that's part of its charm, isn't it? That it does feel that.
Yeah. First couple of seasons for sure. And when it came out, it went up against shows like How I Met Your Mother and The US Office. But with everything that was kind of happening in America at the time, people saw it as this kind of breath of fresh air. And even though the first season struggled, like I'm surprised it's where it's at now because reviews panned it pretty much straight out the gate. My favorite review was, it's smug enough to think it's breaking ground, but not smart enough to know that it isn't. And I'm like,
that sounds like someone's reviewed me.
Guess what t-shirt's coming next week? Just Jesse's face in that way about it. And the network came to them and said, oh, you got to bring in a big star, otherwise we got to get rid of it. And somehow, and I still don't know to this day, they got Danny DeVito to join for
which is amazing.
2.
Like like Hollywood legend Danny DeVito, who's like just in this seedy little sitcom, clearly having the time of his life. I love it.
This is a career high for him, and you can absolutely tell that it is. And it really just kind of became this cult hit. It didn't become this like widely known thing that it is today. Another newspaper called it like Seinfeld, but on crack. And then FX, which I love, made that the tagline of the show when they were promoting it.
That's good promotion.
Yeah, it's great promotion. It was one of the first shows to do 13 episodes at 20 minutes apiece, which is unheard of for American. They like to do like 24 episode seasons, and it's a drag. Mm-hmm. In terms of the show itself, it is nihilism. It is cynical. It is horrible the way they approach characters. When you speak about characters, they normally mature and grow in a show, but the Sunny Gang just get worse and worse throughout the seasons.
Which could be compared to my next choice, which is why I really enjoy It's Always Sunny, because it reminds me of British, like a lot of British sitcoms are not like rays of sunshine. And British sitcoms tend to be quite dark and like that. And Always Sunny feels like that to me. It feels British.
It definitely has that kind of feel to it. The stuff that they get away with on the show doesn't make sense that it's on an American network and audience. My favorite thing about characters growing is in later seasons, this isn't really a spoiler, it's just a funny fact, is Mac ends up taking the piss out of that fact that when sitcoms get popular, the actors suddenly become these glamorous, beautiful, buff, gorgeous people. So the actor who plays Mac ends up just like getting super jacked and shredded. And he comes back just absolutely ripped, and the gang just don't acknowledge it. And just him being this beautiful person. And he said in an interview, it's like the most miserable time of his life. He's like, I did it as a joke, but I had to watch everything. I hated it. It's horrible.
So Rob McElhenry is his name. And he recently bought Wrexham Football Club in England with Ryan Reynolds.
So
they both bought this football team. And all the, like, no one over here knows who Rob McElhenry is. So all the papers were like, Wrexham Football Club has been bought by Ryan Reynolds and his friend. Is what like all the it's like what all the mainstream papers over here said. And so like for ages, Rob McElhenry changed all of his social media, like all of his about and his tag name and stuff was just Ryan's friend, which I thought was brilliant.
So self. Well, I love it. I love it. But It's Always Sunny is super popular in this country. Like, it's that kind of you're cool if you know It's Always Sunny, and like, you know, it's something you can meet up with a friend and chat about. And they do, like, there's pub quizzes and groups and stuff all across the UK that just are really into the show. And now that it's on Netflix, it's got this whole worldwide audience, and I feel like it appeals to everyone. And it's the thing I can never pinpoint about It's Always Sunny is it's always horrible. And it's legitimately horrible in the stuff that they do. The way they talk about sexuality, race, gun control, Time's Up movement, the LGBTQ community, but they do it in a way that it's smarter in the way that it approaches things. So yes, they're being horrible, but they're bringing awareness to those issues.
Yeah, you're not laughing at what they're saying. It's the same with loads of sitcoms like especially British ones. Like, you're not laughing at what they're saying. You're laughing at how stupid that person is for saying it.
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
a completely different thing.
Yeah, and now 14 seasons, I believe, and I'm pretty certain it's the longest running sitcom in American history. It's more popular, it's more funny than it's ever been, just because the way they deliver the comedy, as you say, it's laughing about that, and it's always, you know, about the implication of what they're saying, nothing else. And I ended up Googling because I was like, I want to give kind of reference for people. So I Googled, like, oh, what's the worst thing the Always Sunny gang has always done? Do you know how many articles there are that says the worst things the gang has ever done? I'm just going to read you a couple of headlines. I'm not going to spoil the episodes. But number 10, the gang does blackface. Number 9, the gang exploits a dumpster baby.
I've seen that one.
The gang kidnaps multiple people.
And that one.
He tricks a man into stripping for his daughter.
I haven't seen that one. I look forward to that.
The gang holds a funeral for a fake dead baby.
No, I haven't seen that. I'm really looking forward to that.
Mac and Dennis neglect and eat a dead dog.
Perfect. There's an episode of the show. My next pick that's very similar to that.
The gang pretends to be terrorists, and Dee and Mac drown a child. Oh, and then there's cricket as well. Can't forget about cricket.
Oh, lovely.
Greatest running joke throughout the whole series. Makes me so happy.
The more I watch it as well, I'm falling in love with Dee. Does that make me a bad person, or is that cool?
No, I'm in love with Dennis, so you're a step ahead of me.
Fine. Well, you said that Dennis reminds you of me, so that you're basically in love with me.
Well, this has been established many times on the podcast. Yeah. Love you, baby.
I love you, babe.
But Dee is obviously but Dee is not the victim character, because she's just as bad as the rest of them, but she does get shit on by all of them, you know, being the bird that they call her,
Big
not
bird.
being sexist. Big bird, yeah. And yeah, I just, for people who've never watched it, just give it a go. Like, yes, season 1 is filmed like with a handheld camera, it feels like, and it's low budget, but it's not one of those ones where it's like, oh, just get past the first season. No, just enjoy the first season. And then it just goes from strength to strength to strength for each season, without a doubt.
It's awesome. I'm really enjoying it. And I didn't know there were 14 seasons. I didn't know there were that many. So that's really good, because that means I've got shitloads more to go.
Oh, you're in for a treat, my friend. I haven't actually watched season 14 yet, so I could watch it and then go, no, this is all bullshit. So I will get on to that. Mr. Benz, number 4. Yes.
I've gone with Peep Show, which is kind of, I don't know, it's one of those shows that you kind of forget how much you love. I guess because they just sort of finished it fairly cold, and it was just, that was it, and everyone just sort of moved on with their lives. Peep Show, for anyone who doesn't know, I don't know how popular it is in America. Is it popular in America at all? I don't think so. I guess like maybe culty. It reminds me of Always Sunny in that there's no nice characters in it. Like, none of the main characters are good people. And it's based around Mark and Jez, who live together in a flat. Mark, at least in the beginning, works for JLB Credit as a proper office job, but is a bit of a stick in the mud. And Jez is like, they met at uni and they're best friends, but they're totally different. Jez is a sort of free-loving, hippie, like, thinks of himself as a hippie, and like, you know, likes recreational drugs and doesn't work, man, and all this shit. But what's really cool about the show, there's 9 seasons of it, and it's kind of and it's all sort of set in real time. So it starts when they're 30-ish, I guess, and ends when they're 40. And just watching them battle, like especially a character like Jez, who I feel like we're a bit like this, like we're clinging on to like sort of, you know, our youth and stuff, but eventually we're gonna have to come to terms with the fact that that's not there anymore, and like seeing that from Jez is awesome. But yeah, this show just has crazy situations like any other sitcom does, but it's all filmed in first person. So imagine, so there's no cameraman. The cameras are basically that they'd be strapped to where your eye line is, and that's how the whole thing's filmed. And you're seeing everything from everyone's point of view, and you can hear their thoughts, or just Mark and Jeremy's thoughts, no one else's thoughts, when they're like looking around and receiving things, and that makes the show amazing. Someone on YouTube has done Peep Show without the inner monologues, and it's just the wildest. So like watching it how it would be in real life, right? Because you can't hear people's thoughts, and it's obviously like those silences are really weird, but it's just mad. Like it just makes the show really surreal, but adding the thoughts just makes the show really relatable. I've never related to bigger assholes in my life, because it turns out I'm an asshole. Like the things I think and the things we all think, you like in all these social situations about people, about things, are fucking horrible. And the writers, it's written by Jesse Armstrong and Sam Bain, not by David Mitchell and Robert Webb. A lot of people think it is, but it's not. And Sam Bain and Jesse Armstrong have just done this amazing job of capturing exactly what it's like to be in someone's head. And also, you watch another thing with like growing up as well, because I grew up on this show. You start it relating to Jez and you finish it relating to Mark, I think, just because you grow up and just become less rock and roll. And Olivia Colman, who is a very, very successful actress now, it was her first vehicle. She's like Mark's main love interest through the show. It was her sort of big thing. There's a character called Super Hands in it, who is absolutely fantastic. Just it's so hard to explain, but like if you haven't watched it, watch it. Just everyone knows a Super Hands, everyone knows a Jez.
I was about to say everyone knows those characters, from your Dobbies to your Super Hands to who's the over the top boss? Forgotten his name.
Oh, Johnson. He's amazing.
Like everyone knows Johnson. And I think that's what's so key about that show, because, and also when you talk about the first perspective view, I feel like that never gets enough credit, because it sounds like such a nauseating idea to watch a show from that perspective, but it's just draws you in immediately, and you are just viewing it from that perspective.
Yeah, it's perfect. And I saw a like behind the scenes thing with them, and they were saying that the only time they felt bad about doing that, because they really like the realism of it, but they said when you're walking down the street with someone, they tried to do it realistically, but that is the only time they couldn't really do it, because in real life, when you're walking down the street with someone, you're not really looking at them. You're looking at where you're going. And when in first person on a TV show, that's shit. So there is some times when they're walking down the street and they're just looking at each other, which is not like when you see like older films when people are pretending to drive. And do you know what I mean? They're going like that. They're just talking to like the person next to them for ages. And it's like, dude, you need to look at like where you're going. Exactly. But that's the only time they really broke the realism of that. And they stuck with it throughout the whole thing. It was awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I came to it quite late in terms of when I first saw Peep Show was when Jesse was working at the circus, and I was living in his flat at the time. So this was what, 2012?
Early to 2010, I think it was.
2010. So I was just completely by myself, nothing to do. And Jesse just had the whole box set. And I'll give it a go. And for people who are into kind of a bingeable TV show, I lost track of days. I just watched all of the seasons. And it feels like with Peep Show, there's so many more seasons than there is. In my head, there's like 20.
Yeah, there's only 9 and there's only 6 episodes a season. So it's there's really not all that much, but they do get a lot done. Hi, Crommy. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Crommy.
Sorry, it's a weird day. Peep Show. As I got into it at school, which is perfect. I'm glad that you got into it afterwards. Have you seen it all? Because there's been more seasons since.
There's been like additional ones kind of added after. I've seen up to like when Mark has the baby, and then I've seen like bits after that with like, but I've never sat down and like dedicated full watch time. So I'm wondering whether I just start from the beginning again and just do a complete watch through all the way through.
You should definitely. It's well worth your time, and I believe it's on Netflix. It was last time I checked.
Or 4OD for our.
Oh yeah, it's not called 4OD anymore.
No, I was trying to find it on the Xbox yesterday. I was like, where is it?
Yeah.
And it's now all 4.
All 4. I remember when my dad first discovered 4OD. He used to run a music shop in Tewkesbury, which is a very little town. So when you run a music shop in Tewkesbury, you spend 95% of your day just looking at a computer, just waiting for someone to come in the shop. And he discovered 4OD, so he started watching stuff on that. But in a typical dad fashion, he could never quite remember what it was called and always called it foreplay. So he'd be like,
that's what he told you, Jesse, when you went to his computer.
Yeah, he was like, do you know about foreplay? Dad, I'm not ready for this conversation.
But yes, I'm a master. Jesse doesn't do foreplay. Who are we kidding?
No.
So,
take it all about.
Yeah.
The bus home.
The bus home. such a dirty old man. He always gets a return trip, never a single. Always a return.
I used to do you remember? I used to do with someone who, we shouldn't say names on this because like she hasn't consented to stuff. But do you remember a girl I was seeing who was staying in Cheltenham the halls of residence at Cheltenham Uni at the time, and I lived in Tewkesbury, so there would be many a seedy bus journey taken when I was feeling a bit randy.
Yeah, when he was coming to see me.
It was like, yeah, I'll be with you in 10, dude.
He was there in 5.
Yeah, you beat me too.
Yes. Okay. But Peep Show, 100% definitely worth checking out. If you've never seen it, it's unique for all other sitcoms. It is 100% worth checking out. So for all 4, I'm going to say 4OD again, or check it out on Netflix. 4Play, check it out on 4Play. Okay, as per usual, we're flying through the early contenders, and then we'll take our sweet time on our number 1s. My number 3, back to the sweet old US of A, is Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Something I've never watched.
Now, Nine-Nine, so there's a brilliant man in the world called... what is his name? It's like Greg Schultz?
Greg Schultz? Oh, the guy that did The American Office.
Yeah,
well.
So this motherfucker...
And he used to write on The Simpsons as well.
Wrote on The Simpsons. He's done Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He did Parks and Rec. He's done The Good Place. He is the funniest man in the world, apparently. Or knows comedy. He's probably boring as fuck, but he knows comedy.
Do you know what episode? I'm sure he wrote loads, but there's one Simpsons episode in particular he wrote, which I really enjoy. He was the head writer on Homer Bad Man, which is the one when Homer pressures Venus off the babysitter's ass and they have to clear his name because they think he's sexual assault. Yeah. So he was the head writer on that episode. So he knows his shit.
He knows his shit. And Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a great example of this. So for people who don't know, it's an American sitcom. It's set in the 99th Police Precinct in Brooklyn. And the main character is the immature but talented Jake Peralta, played by Andy Samberg. And he has equally dysfunctional colleagues, and they solve cases and engage in mischief along the way. This is a very classic American sitcom where it's, as we were saying, versus It's Always Sunny. You have growth of characters throughout the show going forward. But every single character is strong. Like, it's not just Andy Samberg carrying the show. Like, every single person in this is funny, if not funnier than Andy Samberg, which is hard because the man's very funny.
He's a very good-looking dude as well. I like Andy
Samberg. Dude. He's one of those Paul Rudd types. He's like 43 right now, but looks younger than you and me combined.
Yeah, makes me sick.
Makes me sick. So the jokes are just really, like with sometimes with American sitcoms, you're watching it, you just go. That's about as much as you'll laugh. But with Nine-Nine, honestly, is just out loud laughing at certain bits and like the running jokes that are coming on. And it's never kind of, again, comparing to It's Always Sunny, no one's taking the piss out of each other. There's no like cop jokes or anything like that. That it's good-hearted jokes.
It's pure.
But it's pure. But the characters are so sharp and the editing is so quick with like good cutaways, and they're just kind of on top of the game that it just remains good. It's also like really progressive as a TV show, but it doesn't like rub your face in it. It's, the whole
progressive
cast
about it.
Well, the whole cast is pretty much progressive. You take Charles and Jake are pretty much like the only two white characters in it. And then you got Captain Raymond Holt, who is the gay police captain. And then they use that as a vehicle to talk about the struggles of a black gay police officer coming up through the ranks in the 70s. Rosa comes out as bisexual halfway through. You've got two Latina leads. You've got Terry Jeffords, played by Terry Crews as well. So it just kind of has a very diverse cast, and they also touch on very serious issues, but in a funny way as well. So they'll do stuff like your Fresh Prince of Bel-Airs and your Scrubs, where they will just have episodes where this is a serious issue. I remember once there was one of the serious episodes was not really when the Black Lives Matter happened, but when another black person was killed by police for no reason. They did an episode where Terry Jeffords goes to his car and a white police officer stops him in his neighborhood. And he's like, I'm a detective, and the 9-9, what are you talking about? And it turns into a scary situation. And it's addressing those kind of issues, but they also still keep the comedy throughout. And also they don't play up to those stereotypes. Like, yes, Captain Holt is a black gay police officer, police chief, but that's not his defining characteristic at the end of the day. And just it's been going for 8 seasons now, which is a lot for an American sitcom, especially a sitcom of this nature where kind of characters grow and mature. And you know that feeling when you get to about season 5 and people start hooking up within the group, and then they start having babies and we're looking for houses, or we're revisiting crazy plot lines from before. It doesn't do that. It keeps it fresh and it keeps it moving throughout, which is really good to see. And Andy Samberg really does cover it. Like, he's an idiot, but he's a genuinely smart cop when he needs to be. It's that playoff where he's not just a bumbling buffoon who solves all the crime. He is good at his job. He is just funny and a bit childish along the way as well. So I think it's just that element that allows it to be so funny, so honest, and so enjoyable that it's one of those sitcoms that I put on where it's like, oh, if I can't sleep at night or I'm, having a bad time, I'll start it from episode 1, season 1. And I'll just watch it through and I'll feel so much better afterwards. It's just that feels good. Comfort food. It's the comfort food of TV. And that's what I want in my sitcoms. I want a warm hug. I want to feel like I'm hanging out with friends. Not friends, because but you want to feel like you're inclusive with these people and you grow and you watch them on their journey. And also they open up with cold cuts, and cold cuts to me are the funniest way to introduce any sitcom, of just this standalone, here's 1 minute of funny, and then we'll get into the episode. And just can't get enough of it.
Agree. Totally agree. Like I said, I've never really watched it because I think for that, what's always put me off it is exactly what you like about it, in that it's just good-hearted and there's no there's no evil, and I want evil. But I love that they sort of sneak in serious issues. I mean, I can only compare it to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which I love and I've watched all of. And like when I was watching that as a kid, and like you said, they sort of suddenly, like, it's funny and silly, and they suddenly whack you in the face with like something really serious. Like
when Carlton gets mugged and he gets a gun, or when his dad shows up, and like those episodes just live in your head. Do
you remember when they spend a night in jail? Carlton and Will spend a night in jail. I can't even remember why, but Phil comes and bails them out and all that. And then there's the sort of lecture that he gives them at the end about being a black man and how, like, you shouldn't, like, as a black man, this will happen to you, so you need to work extra hard to make sure you don't get yourself in these situations. But it was such a serious, like, thing. Oh fuck! And the bit when Will Smith, because he never knew his dad, right? And do you remember when, like, he has the chat with Uncle Phil at the, and they have that, they hug it out at the end?
What do you want me, man?
Like, man, that cuts. Like, and it's like, it's such a and it's such a goofy show elsewhere, and then they suddenly smack you with that.
But I feel like
why the Fresh Prince in my list, man?
It's in my honorables, don't worry. But I feel like sitcoms need to do that, because obviously we are not young black males from America. Like, we're never going to experience we're never going to experience those issues or really be exposed to them, in all honesty.
No, but it's important. But it's important to. But that's why they're in these shows, to educate people like us.
Exactly. You have these sitcoms which, are funny and good enjoyment, but they bring you into, like, okay, you're enjoying the funny element of this show that deals with, like, race and all this kind of stuff. But here's the other side. It's not all fun and joking living in our mansion in Bel Air. It's not all fun and games being a cop in Brooklyn. Here's the other element of it as well. And I think that's so important for TV shows to do, to kind of walk that line and keep that responsibility that not everything is funny, no issues whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I'll give it a chance for you.
Thank you. Please do. I think you would enjoy it. if you've enjoyed Parks and Rec, if you've enjoyed The Office, The Good Place is a strong honorable mention because that is, again, 4 seasons of perfection. And he did it again with 9/9. I'm getting a bit sick of Greg with his perfect TV show writing. He needs to have a flop.
And the only reason he got the US office is because he had written Ricky Gervais's favorite Simpsons episode. So he was in the run-in with several other people to take on the US office. And Ricky said, "Oh, he wrote this brilliant Simpsons episode. He definitely gets the job," which is cool.
See you in hell, Candy Boys. Oh, I love that episode so much.
Rowdy Roddy Peeper.
Maybe we should have included Simpsons in this list.
I like the idea of doing cartoon. Like, we should do top 5 adult comedy or whatever you would call it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Because I was going through and stuff like Adventure Time and Rick and Morty and Simpsons, Futurama, all of those are popping up. And I'm like, it's too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Archer, that's fucking quality.
Archer, yes, exactly.
Yeah, the first few seasons of Family Guy before it got awful. And same with American Dad.
Yeah, exactly. So, 100%. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be doing top 5 adult.
It sounds weird.
Sitcoms?
The word adult in stuff always sounds weird.
Welcome to the adult show. Yeah, I don't like it.
No.
Okay. Number 2, my good friend.
Yeah, sorry about this. So this is
what a way to start your pick. So sorry, everyone.
So League of Gentlemen is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I'm aware that you don't like it. You've got no interest in it and never have done.
Go and zone out for 10 minutes.
I think no, don't, because I think like the bear. But you like Mark Gatiss, right? He's one of the League of Gentlemen. He obviously went on to co-write and star in Sherlock. He did a fantastic adaptation of Dracula, which I guess was like 2 years ago now, but that still feels fairly recent. Doctor Who, he's involved in, isn't he? Doctor Who's never really been my scene, but I know he's like big in that. Rhys Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton are 2 of the. There's actually 4 gentlemen, but the 4th, Jeremy Dyson, just writes. He's not an actor, so he doesn't star in it. But Rhys Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton have gone on to make a show called Psychoville after League of Gentlemen, and a show called Inside Number 9, which, if you're sleeping on Inside Number 9, you need to go and watch that. It's on BBC iPlayer. It's a anthology series. Each episode is completely self-contained. Some are funny, some are dramatic. Like, it's just a fantastic show. But anyway,
long one-shot episode.
That was yeah. That was
love me a one-shot.
Yeah. But before all this, they did League of Gentlemen. They started with this, which is technically, I'm cheating a bit putting it in here, it's kind of a sketch show, really. They just have lots of characters. The 3 of them just play lots of characters. Think Little Britain, but evil Little Britain is kind of what this is. It was pre-Little Britain. It's much darker, and it is technically a sitcom, because even though they're sketches, they do link the sketches. There's always a running storyline through the episodes. It's just, I mean, a lot of it is dated, although they did do a reunion show a couple of years ago and acknowledged all the dated stuff about it. But like anything that was made in the 90s, sort of, especially British stuff, like there's a lot of that's laugh at the gays, that's laugh at the trans sort of stuff. But that's in all stuff, and it's not cool, but it's everywhere. And they do sort of correct a lot of that stuff in later stuff. But the costumes are amazing. The characters are so evil and dark. I've always been a big fan of horror films and horror, like classic horror though, like Hammer horror and things like that. And this is like a comedy love letter to that sort of thing. It's just so grotesque and strange, but so clever. And they never bend to public like will either. So after the first 2 seasons, their 3rd series was each episode just focused on one character. So it wasn't a sketch show anymore. And they removed the laugh track, which they never wanted a laugh track, but BBC wouldn't let them do something without. Now laugh tracks feel dated, right? But back then they were like, oh, you have to have a laugh track. But yeah, 3rd season, they just completely changed up the format. Everyone at the time hated it. Retrospectively, it's been well reviewed because they realized how good it was. But the writers and the performers have never like compromised. They're just like, we're going to do the weirdest, most artistic, odd show that we can, and you're going to love it. And I do. It's amazing. It's art. It's of its time. I think if you're not ready to put yourself in a sort of 90s mindset, you won't enjoy it going in cold now. But they did 3 episodes a couple of years ago of a sort of anniversary of League of Gentlemen, and sort of touched on the old stuff, but it was amazing. I can't even explain it properly, but doing it 20 years later or whatever it was, just doing 3 more episodes and like, this is what the characters are up to now. Here's us showing you that you can still do something like this in today's climate. They're just phenomenal writers, man. Reece Shearsmith, Steve Pemberton, Jeremy Dyson, and Mark Gatiss. Like, just the writing and the performing is second to none. It's art.
Yeah, unbelievable writers and unbelievably talented. And I'll never deny the popularity of League of Gentlemen and how successful it is as a show, because you couldn't go anywhere when it first came out without people doing some form of, this is a local shop for local people. It was everywhere. Yeah. It was just so ingrained in kind of the British culture at the time, because it was weird. And there was that weird time in kind of British culture of this Channel 4, whether there was just sex documentaries and weird comedies, and it was just bizarre as an era. And
do you know what it was?
Perfectly.
Yeah, I reckon, I don't know, I've just literally thought of this. I reckon it's all Channel 5's fault. Because do you remember Channel 5 debuted when we were kids? Like, there was no Channel 5. And all of a sudden, in the late 90s, yeah, like, whoa. You know, I remember when I lived in the YMCA for a time, I was like, oh, cool. So I switched on Channel 5. But they don't have Channel 5 in YMCAs. They have the God Channel, everyone. I didn't know that. So I was ready for, like, it was like late night. And I was like, yeah, Channel 5 will show me some titties. And it was just like, and there was just like a preacher. Just like, yeah, there was just like a preacher sort of singing along. But I ended up getting into it. I learned some cracking hymns. But it's
just picture you with a tambourine in the
YMCA. What's the hymn? What's your favourite hymn?
I don't have one, Jesse.
Oh, what about I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I lead you all wherever he may be. That's a great one, and particularly because in the verse it says, how can you dance with the devil on your back? And I really like the idea of someone like just trying to boogie, but there's like a devil clinging onto them. Yeah, and it's like, just fuck off.
I'm trying to two-step you, bitch. Get off me.
Anyway, yeah, away from hymns. Yeah, I blame Channel 5 because Channel 5 debuted. It had all this, like, it had like softcore porn literally on at night time, just on free television in England, and these mental documentaries. And then Channel 4 started competing with these crazy sex documentaries that you're talking about, because Channel 5 was this new exciting thing. So they were trying to compete with that. And I think that bled into BBC going, okay, we're going to be more experimental with what we commission and do some sort of more off-the-wall shows, which started with League of Gentlemen and then led to your Little Britons and things like that, which, say what you want about Little Britain, it was a cultural phenomenon at the time when it came out.
100%, yeah. Dated as fuck now, though, isn't it?
Oh, gee, it's dated worse than League of Gentlemen, which is weird, because worse. Little Britain was essentially ripping off League of Gentlemen in a lot of ways.
Yeah, League of Gentlemen can get away with it in the sense of the Always Sunny analogy, where it's like, they were doing it in a smart way. They knew why they were doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas League of Little Britain was just racist and horrible.
I've still got a bit of a soft spot. No, I haven't really, but like, it's like, I do remember. I watched the first series of Little Britain a lot when I was a kid. I had it on video.
Yeah, exactly. But League of Gentlemen, I feel like there's images that kind of live in your brain with this show. You can picture the little village, town, whatever, and like the people.
Royston Vasey, the name of the town, which is Roy Chubby Brown's real name. That's what they named it after. Yeah.
Oh, you're full of the good facts today, Jesse.
There you go.
Loving it. And so they came back with that special episode, right? Or was it a special series?
It was three episodes. 3 half-hour episodes that they did as like a special reunion. And then they did a reunion tour, which I went to, the live show of League of Gentlemen. Yeah. Which was amazing, just so cool. Probably the last time they'll ever perform as the League of Gentlemen. I managed to see it. It was awesome.
How do those kind of live shows work? So I always remember people, Mighty Boosh was really big for that, doing the big live tours, and they would sell out massively. Yeah. I just don't understand how they translate from like screen to stage.
They just do the sketches. Well, they do a couple of, what League of Gentlemen do actually, which is different to other people, which is really cool. So League of Gentlemen started as a like Edinburgh Fringe live show anyway. So they would do live sketch comedy. and they would do it all in tuxedos. That was like their thing. So the three of them would wear tuxedos, and they'd have maybe one thing. So it's like, oh, this character, like I'm playing an older woman now, so I'm going to wear a pair of pink glasses, and that would be the only thing to sort of identify it. And the rest of, and they'd always be in tuxedos. So their live shows, they now do the first half. They do classic sketches from the TV show just in their tuxedos. Then you have the interval. And then the curtains open and Royston Vasey is on stage and like the music starts and they come out in full costume for the second half. And I get it's just insane. It's just sketches, you know, but there's only 3 of them. So like the quick changes of the costumes must be insane when they're going just to the side of the stage. They just have to rip something off and they come back on as a different character. They'll do like, you know, 2 of them will do a sketch together and then they'll go off and then Mark Gatiss will come on and do a solo spot whilst the other 2 are getting changed and that sort of thing. But it's amazing. Yeah, the live show is brilliant. The quick changes, the sketches, a really nice mix of new sketches and greatest hits as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No, cool. I fully support. Like, it's never going to be a show I personally get into, but I respect its legacy within the sitcom culture, especially UK sitcom culture. It was extremely important,
and it was the starting point for these amazing writers and performers that have gone on to so many great things as well.
That have produced, you know, legendary TV shows and sitcoms in their own right. So it's definitely worth kind of considering for sure. Okay, number 1
for you. Yeah, nice.
For me. Okay, close dear personal friends of mine will not be shocked by any means, but the greatest sitcom, in my opinion, is Scrubs. Scrubs. Oh, you got a comment, Jesse?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
You like your nice comedy, don't you? You're nicer than I thought.
I am. I'm a nicer boy than you. So I'd say Scrubs was my first sitcom. I remember being, I don't know, young, and then my brother ended up buying me Scrubs DVD for Christmas one year because he knew I'd like checked out episodes on Channel 4 when it was on. He bought me season 5.
Who does that?
I didn't know in a collection. No, this is the 5th season. Sure, I'll pick it up. It's fine. But to me, Scrubs is one of the, and this is something me and my friend Matt bonded over so much through university.
Our friend
Matt. He was my friend first, obviously.
Matt.
My friend Matt. But this for me and him, this was like our show that we ended up watching. I remember his first breakup. We ended up watching kind of Scrubs when we were kind of homesick. We ended up watching Scrubs in our rooms together. Just that nice little bonding. Again, it's that familiarity with friends that you know and relate to. And to me, I don't think Scrubs gets enough credit. It's kind of not garnered a bad reputation, I'd say, but everyone just kind of dismisses it. It's just, that Scrubs, you know, that was a show that happened. But in terms of how impactful it was, this was the first show that kind of got rid of the laugh track. We talk about, you know, how unpopular laugh tracks are now. This was one of the first shows that went, no, because the problem with laugh tracks is, first of all, it shows that a show is not funny because you have to like push people to laugh. Big Bang Theory. Have you ever watched Big Bang Theory without the laugh track?
Yes, it makes it's even more autistic than it already is.
Unbelievably so. So Scrubs did a no laugh track, single camera, which was kind of unprecedented for the time in terms of what they're doing. And then you see this kind of coming in later with shows like The Office and Arrested Development doing this kind of non-laugh track. And I'm so glad that it's died a death that it has.
Does Scrubs predate the UK Office?
Good question, actually. When did the UK Office come out?
I want to say 2001.
Same time as Scrubs, yeah. So we'll have to kind of see who came first.
I think, yeah. Maybe let me just double check that.
Yeah. But again, when we're talking about laugh tracks take up, in reality, when you watch shows, a good 4 or 5 minutes of actors pausing for my funny joke, which is lazy. It allows you to write 15-minute scripts of just lazy nothingness, which Scrubs got away with. The cast in this show was unbelievably funny, and no kind of major star kicked this off. Even when they got to season 2 and the show was popular, there was no big actor in this. I guess John C. McGinley, who plays Dr. Cox, is the
I
most
thought you were going to
famous
say
example.
John Cena then. I was like, what? What was he in this?
You couldn't see him; he was in the background. But you had
You
new
couldn't see.
people like Zach Braff, who had never acted. This was like his first ever role, and for the first time on network television, they gave a comedy role to an unknown actor because they wanted to get that impression of a very timid doctor. Because the first season is about him; he's starting his internship in the hospital, so they wanted a timid actor who didn't know what they were doing, just like a doctor would. Judy Reyes, extremely funny. Sarah Chalk. Donald Faison, I guess, is also the next kind of most famous one with stuff like Clueless and being big in the 90s. But overall, it's not a show that you look at and go, yeah, this is full of major stars that I can get behind. The music track behind every episode is stunning. In terms of all of the bands they got, like a lot of up and coming indie bands and old classics that just really punch scenes in the right way in terms of what they want to deliver. You'd have stuff like Overkill play, Keen with Bad Dream, the Scrub song in itself. You can play that at any party, and it's like obviously not the same as Fresh Prince, but you play the Scrubs theme song and people know who it is.
Bare Naked Ladies had a kind of renaissance because of Scrubs, didn't they? I know
exactly.
I'm a big fan of Bare Naked Ladies, the band, and the Objects, but I know that like when you sort of look up Bare Naked Ladies and like their hits and stuff, you see Scrubs relates to a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And you can go on Spotify right now and just type in like Scrubs playlist, and you could listen to that and just have the best time ever because they just hit after hit after hit. And I think that's down to Zach Braff and what he does, because when he made Garden State, he actually won the Oscar or Golden Globe for Garden State soundtrack because he's just spot on with his music choice. Also, guest stars that came into the show. Guest stars is such an old trope of sitcoms, of someone like appearing to get like ratings. But with Scrubs, it was people just genuinely wanting to be on the show. You had Michael J. Fox, Ryan Reynolds, Heather Graham, Jason Bateman, Aziz Ansari, first kind of kickoff for him, Courtney Cox, just to name a few of the people that would end up appearing on the show.
The dude from The Mummy played
Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
The most iconic episodes with Jordan's brother and Dr. Cox's brother-in-law, where again, won't spoil it if anyone's not seen it, but like we were saying with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air,
it's a gut punch.
Scrubs can punch you in the dick, and it does. And it sometimes they don't even do a comedy episode; they will just do a horrendous episode. Me and Matt always talk about there's an episode where a patient dies, and they're like, okay, we'll take her organs and save all of these people. Happy days. Turns out later on that she has an internal issue. She has like rabies, and then all the organs start failing, and 5 people die, and that sends Dr. Cox into like a spiral of drinking on the job and all of this kind of stuff. That's not sitcom. They did it over 3 episodes. That's not funny. That's not very nice. With him crying and like this strong macho character who is like the hero of the show for everyone to look up to is broken and reduced down to nothing, and you're watching him just like start to break down.
Sounds awful.
Sounds awful, but it hits. And again, it shows, because the thing about Scrubs is, like your 30 Rocks and other shows of that nature, Bill Lawrence, the creator, he based it off he had a doctor friend called John, some JD was the initials, and then he kind of stole that for JD, the character. And he'd have dinner parties with his doctor friend, and he'd tell Bill Lawrence all of these crazy stories about what happened in the hospital. And Bill's there like, in a hospital? Because you expect it to be this clean professional, everyone's very serious, like, let's get on, save some lives, good. But he'd tell these stories of just like massive fuck ups. And my favorite fact about Scrubs is doctors and nurses will watch it and go, that's the most accurate depiction of hospitals on TV today.
It's quite scary.
Yeah, forget your ERs and your Grey's Anatomy and all like your serious hospital dramas. Scrubs is the most accurate, which is terrifying as a concept. But then you forget that the people operating on you and the people looking after you could be me and Jesse. They're just normal people that have a job to do. It's a very serious job. But in reality, afterwards, they're doing weird shit down the pub.
There's a bit of Sean Locke stand-up that I always think about where he he says why he's never had laser eye surgery done. And he says he doesn't get it done because he just knows that somewhere out there is a laser eye surgeon who's just like him and is a little bit slapdash with everything he does in his life. And he just knows that that's the one that he'd end up going to.
Quick side note about Sean Locke. For people who only know him from like Era 10 Cats or like his panel shows, his stand-ups are some of the funniest British stand-ups going today. And I always feel like everyone sleeps on Sean Locke.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Because he just looks like your dad and you don't think your dad's going to be very funny.
He's proper bold now as well.
Is he?
Have you seen how bold he is?
I haven't seen him recently.
Have a little search like Sean Locke 2020 or something. And he's lost a lot of hair.
I'll have a look. But Scrubs and all, amazing TV show from top to finish. I know I said at the start that my would be good from start to finish. Exception with Scrubs. Season 7 is bad. Season 7 is bad because in America during 2006 there was the writer's strike and they had to get like interns to write the scripts. Scrubs ran for like 7 episodes and it was god awful. But then they came back with season 8, which is like the perfect crescendo end of the greatest sitcom show of all time. Then, because ABC had bought it before season 8, so they bought it and then they went, okay, but we just invested in this. We're not going to give you just one season. You got to produce another one. So season 8 ends, JD leaves, everyone leaves, and then they do a spin-off show. That does not count.
Is it like Joey?
Cool. It's like Joey.
Sitcom,
yes.
Yeah.
Turk comes back, Cox comes back, but then you have all these interns in a new hospital, in a new area. It doesn't count, people.
Fine.
I'm putting that out there, Jesse. That's the ruling I've put in my life, so that's fine. But for me, Scrubs is that quintessential TV show. It shows that relationship of like JD and Turk having that bromance. The first time you really saw bromance on kind of TV, and like it's okay to love your best friend, and you want to do well in your job. You want to impress your mentor. You want to get the girl who's really pretty and out of your league. It was just, again, yes, okay, Jesse, I'm a bit of a softie when it comes to my TV shows, but I want to hug with my sitcoms. Again, when I'm feeling down, I put on Scrubs. And it feels like I know these people and I'm hanging out with these people. And it's just a bit of safety.
And the two main dudes now do a podcast all about Scrubs, right?
They do. Yeah. Similar to, this is a new trend that's happening at the moment. It started, the most popular one was with The Office.
Office Ladies.
With Jenna Fisher.
Pam and Angela.
Exactly. Angela. So it's Angela and the receptionist from The Office doing the podcast, going for episodes. And then JD and Turk, Donald Faison and Zach Braff did the same, where they go through seasons, which I can't really listen to because I know more than them about. So. Actually, Zach, I think you'll find. But no, it's really good. I think Got Till 5, the next podcast that we do, is just me and Jesse going back to old episodes and commenting on the process and thoughts of those episodes.
That'd be amazing. It's like, dude, I was on crack that week.
Ric Flair at number 5? What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so meta and like no one would listen, but a little bit of me wants to do it. Just a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, beautiful. So arrogant.
Oh, I didn't tell you. Complete side note. This is nothing to do with anything. Last week we did our top 5 James Bond films, and I enjoyed it so much that this week I have read my first ever James Bond novel.
Wow.
I know. I read Casino Royale this week, which is the first one. First Bond book. Good. It's the first book I've finished in years. I always pick up books and then just sort of get disinterested and move on. But I've started and finished Casino Royale, and it was awesome. And I've bought the second one, and I'm probably going to start it tonight. So that's my life.
Right in the end.
He did 14, Ian Fleming.
Okay.
I think it's like, I think you class it as like 12 and then 2 books of short stories.
Got you.
But and then there's like officially licensed Bond books after that. There's like 40 in total, but all written by other people. Anthony Horowitz has done a few, and like,
nice.
So there's like people that have been officially licensed by the Fleming estate to write them, but only 14 Fleming written ones, which I plan to go through.
I fully agree. I really enjoyed our James Bond episode.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
worth a listen. Check it out.
Yeah, go back, listen, guys.
We've been doing some good shit lately, guys. I think you need to appreciate how much we've been nailing it.
No, we're straight fire, yo.
I mean, there's a T-shirt after one of our episodes, so come on.
Yeah, there is.
Come on, guys. Okay, Jesse's number one is
The Office UK, as we were talking about earlier. So controversial. I know a lot of people love the American Office, myself included, but the UK Office started it all. Like, it was just the beginning. You were talking about how Scrubs took out the laugh track. The Office did the same thing. God, can you imagine the Office with the laugh track? It'd be horrendous. But it's obviously, you all know the American Office and the sort of mockumentary aspect of it, but the American Office doesn't do that in the same way as the UK Office. There's not one thing that happens in the UK Office where you don't go, that this could completely plausibly be a documentary that the BBC have put out and have put out in the past. Or not necessarily BBC, but like, I don't know if you remember, Channel 4 had a documentary called The Hotel. Do you remember this? Where it was, so the idea was they went to a hotel in wherever Fawlty Towers is set. I've forgotten. Where's Fawlty Towers set?
somewhere in Cornwall, Devoney area.
Yeah, I can't remember. I've blanked. But they went to a hotel there, and it'll be funny. Let's do a documentary of like set in the same place. And it's real life. The Office. It's that sort of start because the owner is an absolute dick, and like everyone's just putting up with him. Now there was Educating Essex that Channel 4 did. Do you remember that? And then they did Educating Yorkshire, and they've done Educating Cardiff and Manchester. They're all great, but they all have elements of The Office. They're all like this unintentional humor that comes through of people who are not used to being filmed, and they're just like, oh, just act normal and like live your everyday life and do like Educating Manchester was fucking hilarious. The headmaster. He was a good-looking bloke, actually. He looked a bit like Tom Cruise, but he was a typical headmaster. Like, you know, I just want to help the kids. But like every time they were filming any class, it would be like he'd suddenly appear like into the classroom. And I remember school, like the headmaster wouldn't just pop up in any old lesson. Yeah, exactly. He just wouldn't just wander into like any old class. And this headmaster was because he knew where the cameras were, right? And he had this sort of, and he obviously wanted to be in the show a lot, so he was finding himself sort of sidling into all these things. And that's what The Office is. It's, you got to remember that when this was written, there was nothing like this. There was nothing to compare it to. It's all filmed in a real office by a camera crew who legitimately did documentaries before. So it's like as authentic as it could possibly be. And it's like, just film these scenes, and we've got a boss who, in David Brent, played by Ricky Gervais, written by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant as well, this show, I should say, who just has this amazing blind spot. And he's not a bad bloke. We all know a David Brent. He's just, I think when cameras are off, he's probably lovely. It's just this sort of, once the cameras are on, he wants to come across as this rock and roll comedian sort of talented guy. And he's just not that. And I heard an interview with Ricky Gervais, actually, and he said David Brent's biggest sin is confusing popularity with respect, which is exactly what it is. And he thinks that to get the respect of everyone, he needs to be the party guy and the popular guy. And that just, when you're trying to play up to the camera like that, do you remember, like, we've all filmed ourselves when we were teenagers and stuff.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And we thought we were being so funny and, like, you know, to the camera and like joking around. And you watch it back with hindsight and you're like, oh man, we were such dicks. And like all teenagers do it. This is that. And so you get that, which is amazing comedy writing with this guy with a huge blind spot. But when then you get stuck into the meat of the show, he's not the main focus at all. The actual focus is a love story, which is a tier below, of Dawn the receptionist, played by, can't remember her name, but she's Jasper Carrot's daughter. There's a bit of trivia for you. And Tim, who is played by Martin Freeman, who has gone on to be a Hobbit and a Dr. Watson. So, but Tim from The Office is us, right? When you're watching it, you like, that's the guy that you relate to, because you're like, this guy's been in this job too long. He's, you know, like Jim in The American Office is the direct replacement of that, but Jim's too good looking. Like, I think Martin Freeman was perfect casting for Tim, because he just looks normal. Do you know what I mean? He becomes attractive because he's such a nice, funny guy. And he's in love with the receptionist, but she's engaged to a bit of a dick who works in the warehouse, like the American Office. But the way that they play off each other is so perfect, and the fact they're writing a show where the characters are all aware they're being filmed. Like, I know it's been done now, but doing that for the first time must have been really fucking hard, right?
Oh yeah,
like with no frame of reference, that must be really tough.
Yeah, especially from an actor's perspective, that I
Yeah.
am not. But it's very much, how do you act like a normal human being in a documentary setting for a fake TV show?
Yeah, exactly.
Boggles the mind.
Yeah, it gets a bit Inception-y and weird. And you got Gareth, who's in it as well, who Dwight was based on in the American Office. But Gareth in the English Office is a sort of West Country army obsessed. Yeah. He's part of the territorial army, and he's just but takes it so seriously, and just gets bullied by Tim. And it's just so well done. And then they have the merger, the Swindon branch merges with Slough, so you get these new characters in season 2, and then they finish season 2 on a cold finish. Like, so Tim professes his love for Dawn in an amazing scene that they really had to fight to get through. So Dawn takes Dawn's moving to America, so before she goes, Tim's like, I have to tell Dawn how I feel. So he takes her into another room. He takes his mic off so that the camera crew, so that we can't hear what he's saying to her, but we know that he's professing his love to her. Complete silence for like 45 seconds. And that was unheard of on television at the time. The BBC almost didn't let them do it, because they were like, people will think that their TVs are broken or something like that, because it's completely silent. And he says that she obviously says, oh, we can't be together because I'm moving with my fiance. They have a hug, and then he just grabs the mic and then just goes, oh, she said no, by the way, to the camera crew. And that's basically the end of the series. And it's like, that's cold. That's a cold finish. And then a year later, we get the Christmas specials, which was 2 hour-long specials, which were shown one night after the other, which were just perfect. Like, they just wrapped everything up. And it was just it was perfect. So you get 2 series, 12 episodes, plus the 2 Christmas specials, perfect length, a perfect commentary on what British telly was doing at the time, like we were talking about earlier, the sort of documentaries that were being made, and has obviously gone on to create the American Office. I would say Parks and Rec and Modern Family to a degree, because Modern Family used the talking heads and things. Just so much stuff that has come off the back of the UK office that is all good. Yeah,
the UK office changed the game for a lot of TV shows with the talking heads or just the slight documentary style. It was never ever done before, not even close. There wasn't even anything they borrowed off, I would say.
Spinal Tap would be the closest thing.
Spinal Tap,
Spinal Tap was sort of
as a movie, but to do that in a TV show of like a weekly, kind of keeping people interested, and then when you're talking about, oh, we're just going to do a mockumentary of an office, like, that's fair play to the people that kind of greenlight this kind of stuff. It's just always so brave.
How do you push that through?
And then that, as you say, that end thing, and I always like to compare some of the American Office as well, because I feel like they do it well with Jim and Pam. We've spoken in the previous episodes before about how the US Office season 1, they stuck way too closely, but then they evolved, and they take obviously a lot, the Jim and the Pam storyline, a lot of their key moments takes from the Dawn and Tim era of The Office, but just with that slight American romanticized twist a little bit. But the British style of doing it was just so much more brutal. Like, there was no fancy colors, there was no nice. It was real. They filmed it like you were working in an office.
Yeah, well, it was a real working office.
Yeah, you're in Slough.
This is one reason that I reckon they reckon it got greenlit. When you hear Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant interview, they're like, well, it was low risk. Like, it costs 50p to make. Do you know what I mean? Like, all these actors are
basically,
all these actors are unknowns as well, so they're not on big wages. They have to be unknowns by definition, because it would completely take you out of the mockumentary thing if you're seeing an actor that you know from something else, right?
Yeah.
So they're all unknowns. It's just in a real office, just 2 cameras, something like that, and that's it. That's all you need.
Yeah, I like that not acknowledgement at the end, as you say, with the mic off and stuff. And the US office didn't do this until the final season, where Pam kind of has that thing with the boom operator.
Yeah.
That was the first time that they properly really acknowledged, like, there are people filming this.
That was weird.
That was weird, but I like that.
It felt like they left it too long to do that. Do you know what I mean?
That's exactly the point I was going to make. It was like the UK office, because it was so short and condensed. It was like you still remembered that there was still a film crew. But then the final season or the final episode of The Office was just then, oh, we're going to debut the movie that we've been filming. And then you go, oh, yeah, for 10 years they've been filming a documentary movie, which would never happen. You'd never film a documentary for 10 years. You'd be in there for 2 weeks and then you'd be gone. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things about the UK office, is that kind of condensed timeline of, like, it would be, say, for example, oh, we're hiring a film crew to come in and just like film us for like some kind of promotional package. They're going to be here for a couple of weeks. Boom. That's what the UK office felt like, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Which completely explains David Brent's attitude of, this is my chance to get famous, which is why he
get out of it,
does as well. Yeah, exactly. But yeah.
And the importance of the David Brent character as well. He was the lead role in a sense. I know obviously other people ended up becoming more important, but David Brent was the anchor of the show. But so unlikable. Such a prick.
I don't know. I would disagree with that. I don't think he's a prick. He's
not a prick, but like
a twit.
He's a twit, but if you had him as a boss, you'd be like, "Fuck, he's in again. He's helping out, great." And you would just be so, as you said, the quote that you were saying before, where he felt like respect was being liked, and I just love that about David Brent in terms of the character development that he has. Is just, we've all had a boss like that, and we're all scared of becoming that boss.
Yeah, totally. And it's become so iconic. You can hear Brent in yourself sometimes when you talk.
Yeah.
It's like, and Alan Partridge with those characters as well. Like, you just sort of, they've captured the blind spots of people so beautifully that you can pick them out in real people and go, oh God, that was a bit Brent. And it happens all the time.
I do it with my team more often than I like to admit, where I'm just like trying to be cool. I'm going to give you guys a bollocking. I'm going to do it in a fun way.
Yeah, exactly.
And I catch myself again.
It's like, I only have to do this because of I only have to say this because of the top brass at top. So, like, you shouldn't have done that, but I don't really care. I don't care. Don't worry. Like,
Don't worry. We'll get you a beer afterwards. Don't do it.
Yeah,
again.
Exactly. Yeah. Please.
Gross. Please. But for people who are just diehard US Office fans, and there's going to be a lot of them, especially a lot of our US audience listeners and people who have always just kind of gotten to The Office from a US perspective, don't sleep on the UK version. It is barely anything to watch. It's a day if you binged it. It's nothing to watch the UK Office. Just watch it because the nuances of the comedy are so different to the US. The characters, you'll recognize them, but they're just a little bit more complex in the way they do stuff. I just think it's 100% worth checking out. 100% agree.
Good. I'm glad you agree. Thank you.
Good. Okay, so the Got Till 5 definitive list of top 5 sitcoms, which will annoy any sitcom purist. Number 5, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. Then we had The Peep Show from Dear Jez. I always get worried that we do end up turning into a bit of Jez and Mark.
But who's who?
Well, I feel like we flip-flop between the two.
It depends on the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, we hold on to the hope. There's so many days I'm like, oh, piss off, Jesse.
Alex Scrivens always thinks that I'm like Jez from Peeps. Just the way I think she basically said, the way I try and justify the evil things I do is what
that's the thing. And then sometimes I like Mark, where I'm just like, I just want to read a bit of a history book and just hide away from the world.
I don't want a party. It's like, new Labour exists for a reason.
100%. Number 3, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, lovely American sitcom where you fall in love with the characters. League of Gentlemen for a little bit of strange, a little bit of horror, a little bit of weird. That's what we like to see. Scrubs for just down-to-earth medical drama, the most factual one you'll see, but funny as fuck. And then The Office for all the reasons that we listed. So that's our 5, Jesse, honorable mentions before we let the
we should rattle off some honorable mentions. The In-Betweeners jumps in my head straight away. I love the In-Betweeners. I will say Psychoville is a very underrated one. If anyone happens to like League of Gentlemen here and hasn't watched Psychoville, it's what they did afterwards. No one watched it. It got cancelled after 2 series, but it's fantastic. What else do I like? I'm Alan Partridge. I don't know why I didn't think about that. I know you're not the biggest Partridge fan, but I fucking love I'm Alan Partridge. It's just a genius. There's no point going into detail on that now, but it's just incredible. What else? I've got a real soft spot for things like Only Fools and Horses. That's kind of my comfort.
Fawlty Towers, those kind
of that Blackadder. That's all my comfort. Yeah, right.
This list is impossible, by the way. Like, sorry everyone, this isn't definitive. This is just like our favorites at the moment. But yeah, Blackadder, fuck now.
But these are things I feel like people who haven't seen them won't enjoy them now, because they're of their time as well. But I watched them when I was a kid, and it gives me that warm and fuzzies when I watch them.
I feel like Blackadder's the exceptions to that rule. Only Fools and Horses, Fawlty Towers, I kind of get, because it's just a lot of, yelling and crazy stuff happening. But Blackadder, I think, is still funny, especially
World
War II. Yeah, it goes forth.
World War I. That's a timeless series, to be fair. But the other 3 series, I think, were funny in their day. But not.
But then you talk about a lot of those ones, like The Young Ones and Bottom. Those still like crack me up to no end. Like those are the shows that I'd end up watching as a kid and stuff, and they absolutely kill me.
Yeah, they are good. I like that you just woofed in tribute to Lord Flashheart there as well.
always.
My favorite. I think that's my favorite quote in any of Blackadder, when Lord Flash crashes into their trench. And he says, "Oh, mind if I use your phone? If word gets out that Flash is dead, 200 women have killed themselves. Wouldn't want them on my conscience, not when they could be on my face." And then he just grabs them. It's an amazing line.
So good. For me, English one that I wanted to mention, but obviously it's been brought back and it's kind of sullied its legacy, is Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf is what I grew up on. As a kid, I always remember this memory of like 9 o'clock, my family would lock themselves in a room watching Red Dwarf, and I'd have to wait outside until it was done.
You lived such a...
I was so annoyed because I wanted to see this TV show, and then eventually they were like, "Oh, just come in, just come and sit down." And then because of that, it was the funniest show I'd ever seen in my life. My mum used to buy me like the VHSs. I had like a collection. She'd get me like the collection of Red Dwarf. These were like for 12, 15. I have the VHSs, and I would just like watch them. And then I've been watching them recently on Netflix, and I'm just like, this is terrible. This is not fit for my eyes. It's awful.
So you know the Watson Hall, right? In Tewkesbury. For anyone who doesn't know, the Watson Hall is this smallish hall in my hometown. I played my first gig there. There's like little sort of community things happen there.
Shows.
But all like fairly little community things. Craig Charles is doing a DJ set there in a couple of months.
We're going.
I know we are. the Craig Charles Funk and Soul Show. So he does a radio
too, right?
It's really good. It might be 2, not 6. But he's coming there for a DJ set. How wicked is that going to be?
You know what? Like the thing with COVID and lockdown is just like any event, no matter how weird it is, I'm just like, we're going. We're doing it. Hey, okay, if it's on a Wednesday, I'm skipping work.
Yeah, well into that.
So yeah, absolutely adore Red Dwarf. I feel like the original 8 series are just peak British comedy, in my opinion. That's Cheers.
Nice.
We're talking older stuff. Cheers and Frasier.
I bought your Cheers. Did you know this?
This you told me this half. Tell the story again.
Well, you trade. It's not so much of a story, but you traded in. I guess when you moved back to Canada or something, you traded in your Cheers DVDs to CEX, for American listeners, a trade-in sort of DVD games store, like a pawn shop, basically, isn't it? But for like games and video games. And you traded in your DVDs, and me not knowing that they were yours, because I'd watched them with you at your flat, and then I was just in there, and I was like, that's because that's not the sort of thing that just pops up in like secondhand stores. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, holy shit! Like the same seasons that Max owns are here on in CS. That's amazing. So I bought them all. I've still got them downstairs, and they're so they were yours once, and I bought them. Which makes me think that we've got a connection.
Cycle economy, baby. This podcast means nothing to Jessica. As long as we got the Cheers DVDs, that's fine. Frasier, I always loved. I've mentioned A Good Place and Parks and Rec. Frasier's actually coming back. It's this big revival with like bringing TV shows back, and I feel like Frasier's the only one that can properly do that because it's. When I was a kid, like I didn't fully understand what was going on. I just liked hearing them talk.
It's just a nice atmosphere. Yeah, Kelsey Grammer's voice is amazing, isn't it? I could just listen to him talk all day.
He's like the lovely Loveline. I feel like if Frasier come into my life before Loveline, I'd be doing a lot better with my career. But unfortunately, Loveline came in, and here I am. So it's not good.
Modern Family, I like.
Modern Family, yeah.
It jumped the shark a bit, I think, but the first few seasons were fantastic.
This is true. Exactly the same reason I didn't mention Community. To me, the first 3 seasons of Community are the funniest shit that's ever been produced in America. But then the last 3 seasons are absolute trash.
Yeah.
And it's, And same with How I Met Your Mother. First 3 seasons, funniest shit in the world.
Yeah.
And then they ruin it completely.
He's disappeared, isn't he? Ted.
Good.
But I don't see that actor in anything. Do you? Am I just missing him, or is he? No, he hasn't done
it's the problem with being a lead in a sitcom. You know, it's something Zach Braff from Scrubs always struggled with, where he had to create his own movies and his own buzz and stuff. It's but Ted's such a dick. Glad he's out of work. But it's the curse of sitcoms of like going on and doing better stuff. It's such a hard thing to do, especially in American sitcoms and stuff. If I take Brooklyn Nine-Nine, for example, Andy Samberg's lucky because he had his Lonely Island and movies like Popstar Never Stop Stopping and Hot Rod, and he has this career, and then he did a sitcom. So he's fine. But, you know, being a new actor into the world and you get given this gig, it's so hard to kind of break out of that and blossom. I mean, Neil Patrick Harris maybe did well, but he just went back to another sitcom.
What
so we had Doogie Howser in the 80s when he was a child actor, disappeared for ages, did like cameos and a bunch of stuff. How I Met Your Mother made him huge again, and then he was all over the Grammys and Tony circuit for ages, but then disappeared again.
Well, so it sort of disappeared. I mean, I think he does a lot of theatre and stuff like that, and he does a lot of magic as well. Oddly, he's like in the magic circle and does.
He's a great magician.
Yeah. But he also appeared recently. There was I can't remember what it was called, but there was a very popular British TV show that was on Channel 4 recently, and he was in that.
There we go. So those are there's so many. Like I'm just thinking like so many sitcoms that are just.
I know.
I've got like Vicar Dibley and Ab Fab and all these kind of stuff that jumping into my head now. We could be here all night, but you know these are the ones that are kind of the key ones to check out that you can enjoy in streaming shows now that are modern. You're not going to get like, oh, it's old, but don't sleep on the old comedy. There's a lot of good shit out there that you can kind of check out. And that's a wrap on this episode. I'm going to go watch the second night of NXT TakeOver for our wrestling fans who still listen.
Yeah, so we're doing, for any wrestling fans that still listen, we're doing Steve's show, that podcast next week because it's WrestleMania, obviously, this weekend.
As we always do every year.
Exciting, yeah. So we will be recapping that with Steve, which means I've got to watch a lot of fucking wrestling again. So we're doing both nights of NXT and both nights of WrestleMania.
Like last night, man, I was like, okay, I've got to watch this TakeOver. It was good. I watched it. I was up until like 1:30. I watched it. I'm going to watch TakeOver 2 tonight. I'm going to watch WrestleMania tomorrow. This is why I booked Monday off, just because I can't. The idea of having 9 hours of wrestling to watch in one go. Not going to happen. No. So we'll be on Steve's podcast. He releases the episode. So next Friday, that episode will drop talking about WrestleMania. If you guys miss us talking about wrestling, so make sure you go over to that podcast to check that out. I always enjoy talking with Steve about.
Yeah, we haven't spoken to him for a while, actually, have we? I guess Rumble. So January was the last time. Yeah.
So nice to catch up again. And it's going to be a WrestleMania in front of a crowd, which is going to be weird.
How many people?
45,000, I think they've booked.
Okay.
So big boys, a proper stadium stage to work. So it's getting to that. If you watch TakeOver, it has a crowd in it, and you notice that AEW is getting a lot more of a crowd in it. So
Starting to
coming
feel a bit
back.
normal again. Yeah, that's
coming
good.
back. It's exciting. So we'll be on that. We'll be back next week, obviously, with our next episode, which is episode 95, and that begins the number 5 countdown heading forward. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode. Again, if you want to support us, go pick up some lovely merch at gottill5.tmail.com. This bad boy is available right now, and it's comfy as shit and fits amazingly. So pick it up. Where else can people go if they want links and stuff, my friend?
All of our shit is in a little place called gottill5.com.
Bam, 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 bam. Love it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Go enjoy some sitcoms this weekend. Enjoy WrestleMania if you're a wrestling fan. We will be as well. We love you dearly. Thank you for tuning in. Jesse, my darling, love you forever.
Always.
Goodbye and good night.
Bye.
Bye.